Hey, so I was at the Ecamm Creator Camp this week, and I want to give you the entire rundown of what happened. You ready? Let's do this. What an amazing week it's been. I am finally back home. It is Saturday night. It's taken me a couple of days to recover from the Ecamm Creator Camp that I was at this week. Now, what is Ecamm Creator Camp? Well, the Ecamm fam is the software that I'm using, Ecamm. And it's basically the streaming software that I've landed on, that I've put all my effort behind to do all of my streams, all of my recording. I stopped using things like StreamYard and Riverside, and I've gone all in on Ecamm. Why? Because this is the software that you need. If you're using a Mac and you're streaming or recording or doing video of any type, this is a production studio in a box. So there is nothing that I've been able to throw at Ecamm that it's unable to do. And it's only getting better. So I've become a huge believer in the software. The people that are behind it are absolutely incredible. And, I had no idea what Ecamm was up until about 6 or 8 months ago. I had been using all of this different software to do the Generator podcast and do the interviews. I've used everything from Clubhouse to StreamYard to Riverside to everything in between, OBS, any streaming software that's out there, you name it, I tried it. And I was always kind of left lacking, especially with OBS on the Mac. OBS would crash on me all the time. It felt too heavy. And so about 6 or 8 months ago, I was online and I was asking for some opinions. And my buddy Sam Guillermo, who is down in the Baltimore area, just sent me a quick text and said, Ecamm, hands down, Ecamm. So I looked into it, I bought a subscription to it, and I haven't looked back since. Now, as I got to know the software and starting to learn it and do certain things like, zoom in and zoom out, all of this stuff being controlled by either MIDI or a Stream Deck or just hotkeys, it gives me the ability to make streams that are far more creative and far more engaging than just trying to record everything and do it in post. I'm really tired of doing things in post. So I wanted to find something where I could absolutely do a live stream, have it be fully produced, and just be done with it. So that being said, as I got to know the software and started to hang out in the Facebook group, I saw that they were putting on something called the Creator Camp. Now, I saw this a couple of months ago when they started promoting it. And truth be told, I wasn't so sure that this was the conference that I wanted to go to. I'm pretty picky about conferences, especially after spending so many years in the Portrait Masters and seeing what the gold standard of photography conferences was. The thing that made Portrait Masters so great was that there was not only amazing education and incredible speakers and all of the information that you could possibly want when it comes to high-end contemporary portraiture. The thing that made the Portrait Masters and Sue Bryce education so phenomenal was the community. And it's something that I've missed. When the Portrait Masters conference started to wind down and basically ceased to exist, there was a huge gap left in the photography community for community based around that style of portraiture. We had become a really tight-knit group over the years, seeing the same people year after year at the conferences, hanging out on Facebook, hanging out on Clubhouse, and going to things like WPPI or Imaging or Shutterfest. You got to know people in a different way. And it created this real sense that we were all doing the same thing and supporting each other and raising everybody up. Well, with the decline of the Portrait Masters, we lost a lot of that community. I have found in Ecamm the same type of community with the added benefit that it's not all photographers. In fact, there are only a handful of photographers that were at the camp. So anyway, I bought my ticket, and it was being held in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I haven't gone to a new conference on my own in a lot of years. Typically, I'm going to know a lot of the people that are there. I knew no one going into this, so I was incredibly nervous about what it was that I was going to find. Drove down to Portsmouth, checked into the hotel, and on the first day, we were slated to all meet up at the AC Hotel in Portsmouth. And then we were taking a bus over to Alnoba, which is a corporate retreat center in New Hampshire. Several hundred acres, art installations everywhere. It's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful place. And we all went over on a bus, started talking to each other. I met a guy named Billy Thorpe, who has made a phenomenal living doing YouTube video reviews, and he's built an entire business around this. He's done about 4,000 videos. So that was literally the first person I met, and I knew immediately that it was going to be a different type of conference than I was used to. So we show up, and we sit down. And I have to say, from the moment that we got off the bus, this was one of the most well put together, well thought out conferences that I've been to in a long time. Everything was focused on creators learning and supporting each other and growing together in this weird new world that we're all trying to enter. It's not really new, don't get me wrong. But for me, diving into true content creation and understanding what this world really looks like, as opposed to what I've been doing for the past several years, which is just kind of throwing stuff out there, seeing how it goes. I wanted to learn from the people that are doing this with phenomenal success. So walk in, and every chair that was there had a goodie bag on it already. We were all given these Ulanzi phone holders, these mini tripods that fold up, and these were waiting for us on the desk. This is a really cool piece of gear, and if I show you from the top down, it really starts to settle in how much the Ecamm family wants you to become a full-time creator. So yeah, this really cool little piece turns into a tripod. It's magnetic. You put your phone right here, and you can just do some tabletop type of content creation. So they did that, for everybody that was there. They had one of these little Ulanzi tripods, and it was a great little gift. I mean, this is something that I thought was a wonderful touch, and I thought it was going to end here. I was so mistaken. Before the conference, we were told to take a quiz, and we wanted to define what type of creator we were, either a producer, a planner, or a presenter. And all three have different styles, right? Producers really love digging into what it is that you're creating, making everything aesthetically beautiful, and making sure that the show looks really, really nice. Presenters have a great time being on camera. They have no problem talking to anybody, but they may lack some of the production or technical skills. Planners are great because they know how to put an entire show together and know the content that they want to create, but they might also not have the technical expertise or the desire to be on camera. So everybody's got slightly different strengths. I fell into the producer category, unsurprisingly, because I like control and I like to be able to do things on my own. So as we were, let me just see here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, hey, Paul is here. Hey, Paul. Nice to see you, man. So as we got into the day, everybody was given a Creator Camp guidebook. Now, these were independently created for both producer, planner, or presenter. And while the information in it is very similar throughout all three, it was fine-tuned for each style of attendee. And the great thing is, it gave you context as a producer or a presenter or a planner as to how to go about some of these exercises, some of these skills. And I thought it was just going to be a book that kind of was high level. It wasn't at all. In fact, there was so much thought put into it. All of the information that was in there was also matched up with what the presenters were putting on screen. So you didn't really have to take notes or do all the screenshots. Man, I hate it when you go to a conference and everybody's, trying to pay attention to the presenter and they put the slides up and everybody just throws their phone up and starts screenshotting, knowing that they're never going to look at those slides ever again, right? But it seems to be some way of taking notes now. So I sat back and I made sure to listen to all the presenters making notes in the book. And I got to say, the presenters that they curated for this experience, we had 2 per day over the 3 days. But every speaker, and this is why it reminded me of Portrait Masters, every speaker stayed there for 3 days and got involved in the conversations and hung out at night and were so giving with all their information that it was like you're making best friends with some of the most elite members of streaming society. I quickly realized that this was not a place to be nervous. This was not a place to hold back. It was a place to really start forming some relationships with friends in this industry that I know that I'll be able to pull wisdom from, I'll be able to give back to, and get a lot of insight to how people are really succeeding with video and streaming. Now, when I say there was a mix of everybody, there were paper crafters and singers and people that ran worship services and video worship services. There were all sorts of folks that run podcasting and live streams and YouTube channels, and they have their businesses growing because of Ecamm. Throughout the 3 days, the information that came down was just, it was like drinking from the fire hose. There was no break in the mental activity. And I don't mean that in a bad way. My wheels were turning nonstop for 3 days. Because as we would get into the presentations and start learning from some of these experts, I was already thinking about how I could manipulate everything that I was doing here to make the shows better for you. Now, the first presenter was Kat Mulville, and she talked all about building momentum and maintaining momentum, getting into the mental side of what we're trying to do as content creators. She gave us a framework to make sure that we're maintaining our momentum day to day. Phil Palin, who is an AI expert, he's a branding expert, he's an AI expert, he spoke and talked to us about the tools that he uses to make his content creation and writing books and working with brands so much easier and so much faster in a way that sounds natural and not all the junk that ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude create. He gave us the tools and the insights to do things so that they would feel like us. And that makes all the difference in the world when you're scripting out videos. We had plenty of time to network. We were given the ability to get headshots taken. They were producing t-shirts on site for people. The food was incredible. And that was all just day one. As we progressed into day 2, we really started to pick up steam. And on day 2, we stayed at the AC Hotel and got a conference room, large conference room. We had an entire floor, as a matter of fact. And there was a studio set up that was a full live streaming studio, microphones, lights, computers, everything. We could use the studio as we saw fit because we wanted to be creating while we were there. Folks were going around with their gimbals and people were taking photos like me. Everything was all about creation, and it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like there were a whole bunch of influencers vying for attention. This was true support. It was seeing someone and then injecting yourself to say, how can I help? What can I do? How can I help you create content? So on day 2, we sit in the room, and Jeff C., who is also an AI expert, he gave us a long 2-hour presentation on all the tools that he uses for AI image generation, how to write better prompts, how to create storylines, how to create an aesthetic for your brand. And he was doing things that I hadn't seen before. Sure, there's Midjourney and there's Magi, and it was all of these tools that he was using, not only in the prompt side, but also how he built presentations. You know, Paul says, I'm so glad you enjoyed Creator Camp. It makes all the planning and effort worth it. These guys did such a phenomenal job of planning this out. It's really hard to describe how much gratitude I have for how they treated all of us. So yes, Paul, it was a phenomenal time. So back to Jeff's presentation. He was going through and teaching us how to create these aesthetics for our show and all of the branding imagery that we can use throughout our websites and on presentations and in videos, and keep things thematically the same. It was an amazingly good presentation. And if you know Jeff at all, or if you've seen any of his stuff, he is unbelievably entertaining with story after story after story. He was remarkable. And I don't even know how many notes I took, but I filled his entire section with notes about tools and the ways to go about prompting differently. After Jeff was Loria Petrucci, I believe her name is, and she is a studio expert. She taught us how to really think through how to build out our space for our studios, whether that was lighting or microphones or desk or computer, and all of the things that are being done at a high level in television production so that we can totally up our game. And it could be one camera, multi-cameras, how we use Ecamm in a presentation and inject live video into it to make the presentations more engaging. Because quite frankly, if I go to a conference and someone's reading slides to me from a screen, I immediately check out. And this was not that. It was a way to see the information, watch the video, be engaged in the presentation. And it was a really effective way to give a presentation. I hadn't seen anything like that before, and I can't wait to start incorporating a lot of what she said into how I do my presentations, my Zooms, my pitches to different brands. It really, really impressed me. After that, after any presentation, we're always given about an hour to do some networking. And this is where the magic happened. I made sure that I was trying to meet as many people as possible, going from table to table to table, meeting people, falling into conversations, because we're all there for the same reason, right? And it's there that I got to understand that I've been so confined in the world of photography. And in the world of photography, we are not necessarily doing everything the right way. We have a lot of ego. We have a lot of comparison. We have a lot of competition. And I'm also seeing a lot of information put out there in terms of short form video creation, usage of AI, and the ways to go about doing some of this work that is just wrong. It's just wrong. I was really taken aback at how much I believe some of what's being taught in the photography industry is way behind the times, right? We're so focused on trying to get out content that we think people want that we're not thinking about why we're creating it or who's seeing it or how it strategically works for our brands. We're just throwing shit out there and hoping that people watch, and that's just not the way to do it. So one of the things that I learned from Luria's presentation was, I shouldn't say I learned it because I had known about it, but when I saw her doing it, it sparked a lot of things in my mind. And that's just to do, top-down cameras, different different types of views. And with Ecamm, I can use my iPhone as a secondary camera through continuity mode, and we can do top-down views. So here we are looking at my desk. My iPhone is up here somewhere, and now this gives me a completely clean desk view. Well, clean, relatively speaking. But the awesome thing about this is you can see this is a Korg pad control, and I'm running this through MIDI software that interfaces with Ecamm, so I can do anything like bring up a lower third, or I can switch a scene back here. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, and I can go back to the top view, all with a couple of hits of a button, which I really, really like. So being able to control software like that with old musical MIDI gear that I have is incredible to me, because now I can develop shows and do the production that I'd like to do without needing secondary and tertiary crew members to do all of this production for me. So, okay. Getting back to the conference. I know I'm all over the place, but you get what you get, right? So on the third day, this is what I was really looking forward to, because I had met a gentleman named Brandon Washington. Now, I've seen Brandon on YouTube, phenomenal creator. He's got an amazing channel. And he and I were able to talk during the day about photography and the philosophy behind how I do what I do, the things that he likes to do. We were comparing notes, looking at each other's work, and it was just wonderful. Just a really down-to-earth, incredible man. I got to have dinner with him that night with a couple of other folks. And again, talking, hearing, listening to how he does and approaches his work really made me feel like the dumbest guy in the room. And I don't mean that to be a bad thing. I love being the dumbest guy in the room. I do not like to be at a point where I'm not learning from anyone. And this entire week, I was the low man on the totem pole. I learned so much from everybody that I realized how much of a large pond and how much of a small fish I am in that large pond of online streaming. So, hey, Valerie, what's happening? Good to see you. You're my favorite. So, on this day 3, Brandon starts, and he's known for his energy as he starts his show. And he got the entire place. Now it's day 3, right? People have been out the night before, having a couple of cocktails and staying out a little bit too late. So on Wednesday morning, everyone was a little bit tired, but Brandon came out of the gates at a 10, and he got everybody up out of their seats and dancing and clapping and just having a great time. And it just broke down every barrier that we had. I watched him present, and I rarely have seen someone capture the attention of a room that quickly. So when someone like Brandon speaks, I make sure to just shut up and listen. And he walked through everything in his process. He spoke about his own challenges, his own vulnerabilities. He talked about his brand deals. He talked about how he uses video to build community, how he engages with his community and maintains them. Because the common thread throughout all of the presentations all week were twofold. One, it's all about community. There is nothing else that goes into success besides hard work. It is all about community. And this is something that Ecamm gets to its core. So we finish with Brandon, have some lunch, talking a little bit more, and then Lou Mangello came up. Now, Lou is in the Podcasters Hall of Fame. He's been podcasting for 25 years, and he runs one of the largest Disney podcasts in the world. He's been doing this forever. And he was able to talk to us all about the importance of that community. He spent about an hour and a half talking just about building community and how important it is to a business or channel to maintain that connection with each and every member of that community. He's been able to do it for so long. He's got hundreds of thousands of people on his email list. And from being a trial lawyer to now only being a content creator and maintaining that income and maintaining survival over his lifestyle, that was the thing that really got me and got me thinking about what it is that we're doing in the photography industry. There's a lot that we talk about in terms of community, but what I'm noticing is there's a lot of fractures within the photography world. It's not necessarily a bad thing. There's just a lot of fractures as these bigger conferences, WPPI, Imaging, Shutterfest, some of the smaller retreats, as they start to figure out what's next. The communities, the boutique groups, the Facebook communities, the Discord communities, it feels very disconnected. And I've been searching, like I said, for that sense of community. I found it in this Ecamm family, hands down. There's no doubt that this was, in my estimation, the way that all conferences should be run. Now, granted, there weren't 10,000 people at this conference. There were about 100 of us total. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, somewhere around there. About 100 people. And it was so welcoming. There wasn't a single person that I met, and I didn't even get a chance to meet everybody, unfortunately. I tried, but I didn't get a chance to meet everybody. Everybody that I met was one of the kindest, most open, most sharing people. And there was no competition. There was no feeling that, oh, I have this many subscribers, therefore I'm better than you. Or I am so good at creating video, I have nothing to learn from you. There was none of that. And hey, what's happening? Seriously Unserious by Kleb. I love these. Everybody's popping in. I love seeing everybody. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for stopping in. So yeah, it was an incredible couple of days learning from all of these speakers. And then on the last night, we had a kind of a cocktail party, and we went to an art gallery in downtown Portsmouth, did some karaoke, had a ton of fun, stayed up a little bit too late, but there really was this sense of, I don't want this to end. I want another day. I want another 2 days. I want another 3 days. And so I've already got my ticket for next year. I'm going, absolutely. And again, I found in this community people that are nothing but supportive. I guess maybe it's my being remote. Maybe it's my being jaded, maybe a little bit older, that I'm a bit skeptical about how community is being developed these days. Everybody's online. Everybody's trying to meet online. And there's a lack of real connection. And I try to base everything I do around connection, right? Building rapport, a little bit of empathy, a little bit of sympathy, understanding, listening, right? All of these are the components to real human connection. And I've gone to so many conferences and I've been in so many meetings where that just doesn't occur. People are insular and they stay in their own head and they don't want to connect and they don't want to have small talk. There was none of that here. I didn't stop talking for 3 days. It was amazing. So I say that to ask you the question. Is the Ecamm Creator Camp really the future of conferences? And what I mean by that is these aren't retreats of 10 people going to another country to shoot portfolio images. This isn't, a small meetup at a studio. This isn't a lighting class. This isn't a posing class. This isn't anything that we're kind of used to in the photography world. This was taking anybody that's a creator, putting them all in the same room, and basically having this mental cage match of how much information can we throw at each other. I sat next to a woman, Valerie. She's in here now. Valerie, hello. Who made it a point. She came over to me and we started talking. We started talking about photography. And it's rare that I meet someone that I'm like, I'm going to be friends with you from now until forever. I get really weirded out by people. Like I said, kind of terrified, really introverted, but forcing myself to connect with people. Valerie made all of those walls come down. She just made me feel so welcome. Paul Duncan, who manages the community for Ecamm, made me feel so incredibly welcome. And the kindness that he displayed and that I watched him display to everybody at the conference was spectacular. In fact, everybody from the Ecamm team, from Ken and Glenn, the founders and coders of the app, all the way down through the team, Doc Rock and Katie Fox and Paul and Taylor and Caleb and Jill and everybody involved with Ecamm, you can tell that they're all tied into the same mission, which is build community and build tools that allow people to create what they want to create in the easiest way possible. Everything was so well thought through at this conference, from the workbooks to just the little bits of morale, stickers and Polaroids and t-shirts and camp swag and all of the things that we often expect at conferences, but never, some conferences get it right, some don't. There's always like cheesy swag. Everything here was fantastic. Mugs, fantastic water bottles, festival blankets. It was really, really cool. But what really drove it home for me, I saw on the schedule that on day 3 there was going to be a game show. I hate corporate game shows. They give me the cringe every single time because inevitably there's some sort of Jeopardy or question game, and the host is usually like the VP of marketing or something, and it just gets real cringy real quick. Well, the Ecamm family brought in an outside group and we had Family Feud. Now, it wasn't just Family Feud. We had big monitors and sound effects and buzzers and MCs. It was off the charts. I've never seen a corporate game show go so well, involve so many people, and get everybody involved having a good time. There was no cringe at all. It was a blast. And at the end of it, the winning team, I wasn't on the winning team, but on the winning team, they got Shure microphones, they got OBSBot cameras, they got all sorts of gear that eliminates any boundaries that anybody had to actually going live and streaming. So it was really fun. There's definitely everybody's competition kicked up a little bit, and we had a great time. So that was an absolute blast. Oh, I forgot a presenter, Liz Wilcox. So Liz Wilcox is like the email goddess. She has everything perfectly laid out on how to build an email list, how to maintain an email community. And she was actually very open with her numbers about the living that she makes purely from her email list. And I got to say, it is well into the 6 figures. And it just showed all of us the power of consistency, communication and community. And listening to Liz talk very openly about where she started versus where she is now made me believe that anybody can do this. So Caleb, you're in here as well. Hey, Caleb, good to see you, man. He was so proud of the swag this year. Dude, you guys absolutely crushed it with everything. I think I got everything except a Squircle doll, and I couldn't be happier with all the gear that I have. But Caleb, the quizzes that you have in this book really were next level. I loved your 5-year vision plan. So Caleb works for Ecamm, and he had heavy input into the program. And on the last day, he did an exercise where he wanted us to write down where we were going to be with our show 5 years from now, and then where we're going to be 3 years from now, and then a year from now, and 6 months from now, and basically reverse engineering our way into success. And it's a great thought exercise for visualizing where it is that you want to go. So as I put all of this stuff in aggregate, I realize this is the type of conference. It was the right size, the right length, the proper curation of content, an unbelievable technical delivery, right? Which, you kind of expect from a software company. However, anything can go wrong with audio visual at any point. And I think there was maybe one hiccup with a wireless microphone at one point. Other than that, everything was golden. And that made things go well. There was no downtime, no hiccups, no false starts or reschedules or people backing out or emergencies. It was smooth. Now, that's what I saw from the outside. Caleb, Paul, Katie, Doc, all the people running behind the scenes absolutely may have had a different experience. But from where I was sitting and all the people that I was talking to, it was a phenomenal display of teamwork and planning and just caring about the community, caring about the users that use the software. At the end of the last day, Ken and Glenn gave us some previews as to what's coming in the software. And I got to tell you, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but the features that they have coming down the line are going to be game changers when it comes to how media is being streamed to all of these different platforms. So, all that being said, I posed this question to myself, and I'm kind of throwing it out there to the world. Is Creator Camp the future of conferences? And by that, I mean, is 100 people enough? 50 people enough? Should we be focusing on community? Should we be focusing on diversity of thought and diversity of opinion and diversity of expertise so that not everyone that is in a photography conference is a photographer, right? That was wonderful at the Portrait Masters, right? But then when we had people like Tabitha Coffee come in and talk a little bit more business, things like that, that gave us a whole different spin on how we looked at running our own businesses. So it was so reminiscent of the community feel of the Portrait Masters. I'm incredibly energized that I found a conference, not only in New England, so it's close to me, but I found a community of people that truly have golden hearts and that want to make the future of video better. So if you have the chance to use Ecamm, if you have a Mac and you want to get into video recording and you're using something like Riverside or StreamYard or any of the billion other streaming platforms out there, if you have the chance, try Ecamm. I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed. There are a billion tutorials out there. Go to their YouTube channel. Make sure that you're following along. Learn. Take one thing at a time and add something into your show. Everything that I'm doing now is building and building and building towards where I want to be in about 5 years, which is most likely out of photography and doing this full time. I had a thought when Lou Mangello was up giving his presentation. You know, he and I basically started around the same time. I started podcasting in 1998, and I'll put a picture up of that at some point. But I started podcasting in 1998, and I've been doing this ever since. And while there have been some fits and starts and some gaps and all of that, what I realized is that I had a lot of regret. I had regret that I didn't stick with it. I had regret that it wasn't something that I was consistent with over the years. And I could sit there and dwell and say, all right, well, it sucks that I'm starting over. But at this point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So here I am doing a live. I haven't done one of these in a while. I've been doing the podcast most of the time. So it feels good to be live. I'm going to try to start doing these much more often. And I'm building out the schedule right now. I'm looking over the next 6 months. This will probably be a couple of times a week anyway that I'll jump on here, and we'll have some great conversations about what it is that you're creating, what it is that you would like to create, who you would like to learn from, and what we can do as a community to raise up photographers and have them start sharing themselves in this format. I'd love to see more conferences take a page from Ecamm's playbook and really take a look at how they help their community, rather than just making it a money grab, rather than just saying, hey, you get to come out and hang out with us and touch the magic. Make it affordable, make it community-based, make it heartfelt. And I think those are the ingredients that you're going to find make a conference infinitely more successful. There are so many people right now in the photography world that are struggling to figure out what's next. Me, I'm all in on podcasting. I'm all in on video and streaming. I am all in on taking my career and now starting to give back to the people in my community. So anything that I can do to evangelize this software, evangelize the community, I will do. Now, if you are in the comments, and I'm kind of scrolling here, I'd bring them up on screen, but you never know. As I'm going through, there are several folks that are just communicating with each other in the comments. And this is what I love. As we have this conversation, I want to know what you're thinking, right? Everybody that was there as far as I know, had a very positive experience. I didn't hear any negatives. I didn't hear anything bad about the food. I didn't hear anything bad about anything. And that's rare. So I think we're in a unique position right now as creators to really start to reshape how we learn from each other, how we communicate with each other, and how we drive the photography industry forward. There's a lot of folks that I'm seeing nowadays, and I was one of them, that was all about creating courses on how to make short form video. Hell, I made a 42 module podcast course that I watched and was like, ain't nobody gonna watch this. This is shit. And it was. I had written it, I had recorded it, I had put it all together, and then I watched it, and it was hot garbage juice. So I'm going back and I'm re-recording everything, editing it all down, condensing it all down into really the things that you need to know. I'll be putting all of that out on this channel. Why? Because it's easy using Ecamm. I've got my book that is Speak Less, Get More. It's a book that I've written about interview skills, about how to conduct a more heartfelt, interesting interview rather than just reading from a list of questions and not really listening to the person in front of you. So I'm going to start reading chapters of that and letting you write the book with me, because there may be things that I'm forgetting. But as I record this, I want to record the audiobook while we're doing this. So you'll see me start to release chapters, and I want to hear what you have to say about that. So maybe we'll do that in a future live. But getting back to the point at hand, the conferences. I want you to do something for me in the comments, right? So might not be here live. Maybe you're watching this on replay, but what I want you to do in the comments is talk to me about your conference experience. I want to hear your favorite thing. If you were at Creator Camp, I want to hear your favorite moment, whether it was a speaker, whether it was an interaction that you had with another person, whether it was something you learned, whether it was just being in New England for the first time, whatever it might be. I want to hear your favorite experience. And then I also want to hear what you think can be done better so that next year is even better. And I know that the Ecamm fam would love to hear some of that as well. But I'd love to see in the comments, ask me questions. What was it like? What did I like? So you've heard everything from me. I want to hear from you. So go ahead in that comment section, make sure that you're going in there and just spouting off. What did you like about Creator Camp? What did you not like? What do you want to see in the future? How can you help build this community so that it's the best that it can possibly be? So with that, I've talked for now, 45 some odd minutes. And I don't think there was a negative thing. And I'm usually a pretty negative person. But it's Saturday night. It's a great time. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to shut this down now and get back on here in a couple of days. Be watching. Make sure that you are staying in touch. Subscribe, like, share, all the things. Don't worry, I'll get graphics about all that in the future. But for now, just make sure that you give Ecamm a try. I want you to do that. I'm not even going to put up my affiliate code. I'm not going to do anything to try to influence you. What I want you to do is just try Ecamm for yourself. Because I guarantee if you're using a Mac and you want to get into the streaming game, this is absolutely 100% the way to go. Stop playing with all of the other software. Go into Ecamm. It's the best money you're going to spend. I guarantee it. So, that all being said, thank you. Thank you to everybody that's in the chat now. Thank you for spending some time with me. Thank you for participating. I'll see you in the next time.